Hello, 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 students. So we are actually doing an extension lesson today off of Chapter 6, Lesson 5. So this is going to be Chapter 6, Lesson 5 extension. So remember, extension lessons are a little bit shorter. The assignments are a little bit shorter as well. And so they're just taking what we learned about the coordinate plane and extending it just a little bit. So page 282 in our math books. And then our learning target says, I can plot ordered pairs that are reflections of each other in the coordinate plane. So we'll start that. I can plot ordered pairs. That should be plot, not pot. I can plot ordered pairs that are reflections of each other on the coordinate plane. So the first item we need to take a look at here is this word reflection. Now when I see that word, I think about a mirror, and that's really what it is in math as well. So if we write down that word, reflect, or reflection, what is a reflection in math? How do we reflect something? It's really like we're creating a mirror image. So it's going to look exactly the same, but it's going to be flipped kind of in a different location. So when we are reflecting on a coordinate plane, we usually are asked to reflect over one of the axes. So they might say reflect over the x-axis, and they might also say reflect over the y-axis. So we're going to talk a little bit about what happens when we reflect something over the x-axis. So think about a coordinate plane, which looks like this, right? Here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis. If my line is my x-axis that I'm reflecting over, it's like taking something that might be down here and reflecting it so that it's now up here. So when they say reflect over the x-axis, our dot is going to be moving up to down or down to up. So our dot is going to be moving up versus down over the x-axis. Now, if we think about taking a dot over the y-axis, if this is our line we're reflecting over, it's like we're moving something from the right to the left or from the left to the right. So this one is going to be moving right to left or left to right. That kind of gives us an idea of where our dots are going to be located on our coordinate plane. So let's go ahead and take a glance at example 1. It says reflect points on one of the axes. So A says to reflect the ordered pair -2, +4, and the x-axis. Okay, well, let's think about this for a second. If I had a little coordinate plane, and if I plotted -2, +4, that would be going to the left 2 lines and up 4 lines, okay? I'm going to end up way up here, kind of way up there off of my grid. Now, if I wanted to go over the x-axis, this is my x-axis. So if I folded over the x-axis, my x, instead of being above the x-axis, is going to now be below the x-axis. So I'm going to stay on this same grid line, and instead of going up 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is where my ending location would be. So that would be -2, -4. So for example, if I folded my paper and this was my fold line, this x would fold up to match on top of this x. So my final location of this reflection would be -2, -4. If I reflected -2, +4 in the x-axis. Notice how your numbers are pretty close to being the same. There's just some slight differences there. Question B in the same example asks us to reflect -3, -1 in the y-axis. Okay, well, here's my little coordinate grid, or coordinate plane. Let's plot where our original dot is. -3, -1 from the center would be going left 3 lines and down 1 line. So there's where my line or my dot starts. If I'm reflecting in the y-axis, remember this line is the y-axis. So instead of starting on the left, I'm going to be ending on the right. So I'm going to stay on this grid line, and instead of going to the left 1, 2, 3 spaces, I'm going to be to the right 1, 2, 3 spaces, and that's where it's going to end up. Those would be mirror images if this line were the mirror. So think about the line they're going over as a mirror. Needs to be the same distance away. So my ordered pair for this spot on the grid would be +1, 2, 3, and -1. So +3, -1 would be my answer to my reflection. Notice again how the numbers are very, very close to being the same. So now we'll get to example 2. Remember, these extension lessons do not have try on your own problems to pause and do, but we will have a short assignment that matches. For example 2, it's asking us to reflect a point in both axes. So we're going to have more than one move to make. So the question says reflect 2, 1 in the x-axis and then it says followed by the y-axis. So this is a two-part question. So let's take a look at a little ordered pair here on a coordinate grid and where this is going to be located after a couple of moves. So let's start out with the original ordered pair. So we have +2, +1. So from the center, I'm going to go right 2 and up 1. This is my first location. So the first step says reflected in the x-axis. So remember, this is my x-axis, right? If that's my mirror and my dot is above the line, my mirror is going to make the dot now be below the line. So it's going to be up 1, now down 1. So this is my second location. Here's my first location. Here's my second location. Now it says followed by the y-axis. So I need to take my new position and go over the y-axis now. Here's the y-axis. If that's my mirror, I'm not going to be to the right 2 anymore. I'm going to go to the left 2. And that's where I end up right here. So this is going to be my third position or my final position. So there we're going to want the ordered pair for that spot. So from the center, I go to the left 2 and down 1. So that means my ordered pair is -2, -1. That's me going over the x-axis first and then over the y-axis. And that brings us to the end of our extension lesson.